How's it going, everyone? Welcome back. This is the Body Slam TNA post show. Here and joined by, as always, the great Io. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. Just enjoying this, nice Friday evening stuff.
Same. I know it's a little early, but
we got some TNA stuff to talk about, and some TNA stuff to talk about next week too.
Okay, just real quick, I want to remind everyone that this week's podcast is sponsored by Shroom Bar, the protein mushroom bar. It's made up of not psychedelics, but 4 powerful mushroom adaptogens. It has lion's mane, which increases focus, memory, and neuroplasticity, making it easier to learn new things. Next time you're trying to learn that new move, it will actually stick in your head rather than forgetting immediately. It has Cordyceps, which increases VO2 max, blood flow, and overall endurance. It also has reishi, which decreases stress. It has turkey tail, which boosts your immune system, and we know you're going to need that when you're on those nasty-ass gym mats. On top of all that, it has 12 grams of protein. Go to shroombar.com and you use code BODYSLAM at your first purchase for 25% off. Okay, let's get into it, Io. I want to start with the beginning, as always at the beginning of the show. Well, actually, first I want to get your overall thoughts on the whole show. What did you think about this week's show?
Well, first it's shout out to TNA. They celebrated their 23rd anniversary yesterday.
How can I say that?
And I thought they put on a very good, decent show. From introduce us, some good action, some good knockouts action, and a big main event with the champions. But also like to really kind of nail point. Basically, I would say like yesterday was kind of like a bittersweet, because in one hand, everyone was posting all day about, happy birthday TNA. And then on the other hand, we got this impact episode as we had the Slammiversary. So yeah, it's like, pretty decent day. How about yours?
Yeah. And you know what? Even again, also too, 23 years. That's pretty incredible. I'm not going to get into the weeds here, but TNA is always going to have their critics, especially if you are online a lot, like myself. But at the bottom line, TNA's lasted a lot longer than WCW did. You know what I mean? And again, a lot longer than ECW. 23 years is a long time. We're almost at a quarter century, so I expect it, to keep going. 23 more years, so at least. Mm-hmm. But as far as the show, again, basic point, your TV shows are supposed to set up for the pay-per-views, and we got a big one coming. So while this show might not have been, heavy on a lot, well, of course there's a lot of action, no pun intended, but I feel like these are angle shows to build toward the pay-per-view. You know what I mean? We're starting rivalries, we're continuing rivalries, we're planting seeds. So yeah, overall I thought this was a really good show.
Agree. But before we get into the review, so like we mentioned, like they celebrated 3 years. What does that mean to you personally? Being as a longtime fan.
Well, one, it's pretty great to think about it being 23 years, especially when it started. Like had WCW just died, and for a lot of those guys. I didn't watch in the beginning, but I started to go back. And yeah, like I'm glad that TNA was founded because, it's not like everybody went to WWE. So for TNA to start when it did and give a place for other people to work, you know what I mean? So they were the change, you know what I mean? And again, and you asked me what it means. I wasn't watching wrestling for like from 04 till 09 when I discovered TNA. And I've been watching TNA, since then, like religiously. So for me, it's pretty cool to see, bias, a little bias, my favorite company, be around this long. You know what I mean? It's a badge of honor, definitely. You know what I mean? Because again, I don't think anyone thought that they would make it. Like, let me ask you, like, because I know you've been watching. Same question to you, but not only you've been watching since the beginning. Did you think they were going to be around 23 years?
At one point, it didn't even came across my head like, this is company sitting for the long haul. Like I was just kind of like excited every week of like, of what was presented to me now at the time. Like you had all these amazing talent, like TNA on Spike, and also along with WWE and doing their thing and stuff. I think I'd say it hit me that like, oh wow, that this company should really celebrate that they lasted longer than WCW and ECW was probably when I know that they were going to do well after when Dixie sold the company to Anthem and stuff. Because I mean, a lot of people, obviously, there's no secret. A lot of people thought that they were hanging on death's doors. Once after AJ, Kerr, Rude, so and so, left and stuff. So I think it's kind of like a blessing, but also thankful. Like, hey, I watched during the good times, and I also watched during the bad times. Because now you can have a little good perspective. Like, hey, like this company for so and so shouldn't be doing what it's doing right now, but it is, and we all should be eternally grateful for that. And we all should be celebrating that it's an over 20, 30-year company, and you can bet your bottom dollar is going to make it up to 30 years. So. Yeah, it's a very good time. It's celebration time, and I'm very blessed, being a longtime fan, to seeing the good times and the bad times.
Exactly that. TNA's had a lot of lives. You know what I mean? They've no. I don't think any company. Well, you know what I mean. I don't know the history of every company, but they've had a lot of downs. But for them to be up, right now, 23 years. You know what I mean? That says a lot, and I don't think that's going to change. You know what I mean? I think they're very important to wrestling. Again, just because when they started, you know what I mean, looked like WWE was monopolized things, and here's 23 years later. And I know, you know what I mean. People like to think AEW was the change. No. It was TNA was and again, and I said kind of last week, like. I'm not comparing TNA to Ring of Honor, but I think TNA needs to be spoken about in the same way of Ring of Honor. That I think they're all one. You're watching the future stars. Like if you look at both those companies, AEW and WWE, for example, you're going to see a lot of people who've cut their teeth in TNA. You know what I mean? And so I think that's what.
Yeah. Also, a lot of talent who's been influenced by TNA. And wouldn't be where they are right now if it wasn't for their contributions to that brand. Like you can look at LA Knight, for example. The former Eli Drake.
Exactly.
Yeah. Long before he became this over, and he was very entertaining. Like he was doing that same thing as Eli Drake and stuff. So.
There's a reason when I'm watching. There's a reason when I'm watching Drew in WWE. In my head I call him Drew Galloway, because I feel like that's where he kind of became the star that he is now. You know what I mean? Like I don't think people talk about that enough. But yeah, you're completely right. You see people who have definitely, they were inspired by TNA. You know what I mean? Because that's kind of where they put it all together. You know what I mean? So I think that's why I think TNA will always have a place, because you need places for these people to go where they can kind of get ready for the next big the big stage. Because again, a lot of people are always going to have that dream to go to WWE, and that's fine. You know what I mean? But not everyone's going to go to WWE right away, and that's where TNA comes into place. So, okay, let's go into last night's show. Again, we said it wasn't, it didn't light anything on fire, but it was a good show. But we opened with Eric Young, with Northern Armory, of course, for Sami Callihan. But before the match, there was a little bit of a scuffle. You know what I mean? It basically started before the match started. But what did you think about this match? I personally like that. You know, I haven't been the biggest Sami Callihan fan lately. It's more of the gimmick, less than the work. But I really do think that Sami's like a Mox type, and that's funny because I know that they did team on the Indies way back in the day. I believe it was Switchblade Conspiracy was their team. But Sami is like definitely the brawler, and like anytime he's going to deliver in these types of matches. Like, and I thought this was a great match. Like to open up with this match, you know what I mean, on free TV. Like this, I thought this over delivered for me.
100%. Like I found to fit in that, we're kicking things off, with two guys, who, for like, felt like, the good soldiers, and like, represented the brand, whether it was TNA or Impact Wrestling, like for Sami and EY, they've gone through the trenches, with, during countless, timelines and countless, different owners. So I found it fitting that they start the match together. Like you said, Sami, he's gonna like be a good brawler. He brings the best out of you and stuff. He, sorry. He knows how like to like bring a big fight at you, and EY, being the technician himself. So I thought, it was a very good opening. Listen.
Yeah, real quick, I want to shout out EY because, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's more, like, I guess, glamorous names that get talked about. Like, obviously, when you're talking about, like, the franchises of TNA, obviously AJ is going to be at the top of that list. But I really feel like, to call Eric Young that, obviously, that term, a good hand, that's way disrespectful. But he's been, like, one of the, like, you need, like, good, one player doesn't win a championship, you know what I mean, in a team sport. And, you know what I mean? A company is very, it's basically a team, and a roster is a team, you know what I mean? So, and Eric Young's just been like, he's basically a TNA guy, you know what I mean? He was gone for a little bit, but he's definitely one of the backbones, the cornerstones of this company over the years, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I love EY. He, like he's a no, BS type of guy. He always kind of be honest and like give you his 110%. And truly, I mean, as we know, he famously kind of refused to work at the WWE if Vince was still around or so. And so as he made that public, but yeah, for EY, I'm glad that he's still with the company. From my understanding, he's not really signed to a contract, so he's still still being able to lend a hand and help the brand. And he and obviously he can. The best thing about him, he always continues to evolve. Like we had World Elite EY, we had Team Canada EY, the bearded Looney EY. ODB, husband, OUI, like the list goes on and on. Like, you're violent by design, and of course, no armory. So, like, no matter the age or the timeline, EY, he always gets better and better.
The way you just described him, that just reminded me, he's basically the R-Truth of TNA. You give EY anything, and he can make it work. You know what I mean? And like he's gonna go out there and he's gonna over deliver it. You know what I mean? And again, it's not like and again, just like with R-Truth, EY can be a serious wrestler. You know, we've seen it. He's a former world champion. Again, yeah. I personally liked when EY was always plugging his fishing show on Impact. I forget what he was doing a fishing show on, but I know he was in a fishing show, I believe. But yeah. EY is hilarious. I also like the gimmick when he would always be locking up with the referees or the fans. EY's hilarious. But again, I thought this match to open up with this match on TV, I thought this was great. And again, Sami's in his element in these matches, but I'm glad Eric Young won. Yeah, right. Yeah, I believe. Yeah. I like how Eric got. Yeah, he got the one with the pile driver, I believe. But yeah, I want to see. I'm wondering what they do with Eric Young going forward, just because Sami, I don't really think needs a big time storyline at this moment. But Eric Young, I think they kind of need to do something with him, because ultimately I think that the Northern Armory needs to be built as one of the more top factions in TNA. So I'm really looking forward to see where they go with him.
Agree, especially with Icarus and Williams. Like, seems it'd be interesting, like where they go from there. Like, I know like they feuded with Macklin not too long ago and stuff, and seems like we're seeing like EY still being a little unstable. Like he attacked the fan a couple weeks back, and no one knows how no one knows what he's capable of doing next. So it'd be interesting what to do next.
Next, we got one of the definitely. Next, we got one of the more entertaining segments of the night. This kind of reminded me of, not like reminding me of directly, but I love segment. We had the all-star team, the non-champions. So it was Elijah, the Rascals, Joe Hendry, and Leon Slater. And this, I like segments like this because it kind of reminded me a little bit back in the day. I think it was the Evasion storyline when you had McMahon there with Kurt, Stone Cold. Stone Cold was obviously trying to make everyone laugh, but you know what I mean? You just kind of had this like super team. You know what I mean? Everyone got to cut a great promo. I thought everyone was good. Elijah definitely stuck out to me. I like what he said, that he Trick might have got him that time, but he'll get another shot. I think Elijah's outshined since he's been to TNA. But I thought this was a great segment. What did you think?
Same. It reminds me of the kind of like a Survivor Series backstage where you have like the the all-star teams, getting ready, to do battle and stuff. And like everyone got their shine on the promos and stuff. And they also they were a little like iffy about each of the champions, most specifically Macklin. But then they figured, he's on their team, so they can all get a beating. So very good segment.
Remember that brief time, that brief period when Macklin was teaming with the Rascals?
Yeah.
It didn't make any sense on paper, but for some reason it worked. I don't know why, you know what I mean? Like their personalities don't mix, but for some reason, I don't know, it worked. Okay. Next, I personally think this was a segment of the night. We're going to move on to the Order 4 Summit. And I don't know about you, but I was on the edge of my seat for this one, just because I didn't. They accomplished so many things in this segment. Ali got me to hate him more. They planted the seeds for Skylar and Hotch to become probably two of the best baby faces in the company if they want to be. I thought this was tremendous. What did you think about this?
Yeah, this was very good. First of all, let me say, like, Mustafa, he's doing his great work. He's doing his best work right now as a dastardly heel. Like, whatever he does, you just really want to like grit your teeth and like despise what he's doing. Like, he's abusing, his Order 4 cabinet members, singling them out, basically like verbally, embarrassing them. First, like, he told Tasha she's doing the horrible work. Called out, do not call him again. Do not call him again and stuff. And then next, point to Jason Hodge saying that, and of course, Hodge, fought back saying that, like, I stand up to you because you put your hands on Tasha. And then Mustafa rebuttal saying, oh, who pays for your families, this and that, and then basically Mustafa trying to like overpower Will on him, saying like he's nothing without him and all this stuff. And then it turns to John Skyler, where I think that kind of caught you by surprise, all of us surprised, because for a while, Skylar was kind of like the soldier, like defending Ali's section. At least kind of like the loyal one who didn't have a problem with Ali until that very segment. But then when he took the mic away from his hand, and then bowled up to Ali and kind of let him know that, hey, like, consequences have actions. Well, Mr. Ali, you have your own consequences that need to be talked. Bottom line, point blank, like, very good. I love how Skylar got to the point, and then he wasn't gonna let Ali pull his verbally talk down to him, and then leading up to next week's Callihan Harms match. So yeah, I thought that was very good. Yeah, everyone stood out and did their role, especially John Skylar.
Real quick, the only thing I disliked about this segment, and it's a tiny little stupid nitpick. Earlier in the day, it was released, I believe, that Jason Hotch had re-signed with TNA.
That's
great. Mm-hmm. What they should have done is they should have wrote Jason Hotch is re-signed with the Order 4, because when the whole segment was Ali, because when I was thinking, well, we just saw that TNA pays him, but that whole segment when Ali's like, I'm the one that paid, that's what they should have done, because Ali made it sound like Ali's the one why he has a roof over his head, his family does. I'm like, that would have been very clever if it said Jason Hotch had signed with the Order 4. But that was my only little nitpick. But this segment was brilliant. Part of me wishes that the Order 4 was at least a face group, even though that wouldn't work. But part of me wishes that the good hands were out of there, because I think the great hands, I think they should be the ones to beat the Nemesis. I didn't know Skylar had it in him. Now that was a phenomenal promo from him. Like babyface promo. Like I did not think that he would be. I never thought of him as being a face, but again, same. I thought how fiery he was. So fiery. You bought everything. You wanted to see him kick Ali's ass. Like if like you pointed out, for him, the most loyal soldier to get that pissed off, he must have finally snapped. So. You know what I mean? Like that was, and again, it was he was mad that he attacked his fellow group members. You know what I mean? That he obviously loves them because this is a family. Like this was tremendous, and so I'm very interested to see where they go for next week. I believe it's Hotch versus Ali next week. I mean Skylar versus Ali next week, right?
Correct. Yeah, I'm loving this whole storyline right now. Like, with Ali and the Order 4. Yeah. It's just like very, very personal feeling towards, like you have this leader, and then I'm sure all of us, we can all relate, having like a boss, being abusive, and then, someone that stand up. Like it's very relatable. That's why, figure like it's very interesting right now.
Yeah, and again, for you to, I agree with that completely. And also, I just want to say, you hit it. Ali doing the best work of his career. I would hope that somebody in WWE is paying attention to realize, oh shit, we dropped the ball with him, because they could have had this. You know what I mean? Instead of, he could have led a faction, and he did in WWE, but it was under stupid Matt. He could have been, you know what I mean? Like they could have been this. So. Yeah, this was a great set. Again, in a time where it's hard to get real heat, people cheer the heels. I was fucking pissed. You know what I mean? He made me upset. So good on him. That's real. That's legit. Like that's not go away heat. That's like you want to see this guy get the shit kicked out of him. So this was a phenomenal segment. The whole from top to bottom, everybody played their part. So yeah. I can't wait. This is, again, and that's also the depth of the roster, that one of the top angles doesn't involve in a title. It's not involving, someone going after a championship. So yeah, a mid. It's not even a mid card, but yeah, a few. But this is one of the biggest storylines in the company. So Again, it's not a champion. So more of this. Okay. Next, we're going to move on to my notes again. Okay. We had the tag match, which I really like this segment. It was Ying Lee with Masha Slamovich versus the Elegance brand. I thought that this, I would have, you couldn't have convinced me for a second that Masha and Lee weren't a tag team, because they were moving like a well-oiled machine out there. Like they looked really good, and I really like how they're letting. I like the style that they're letting Ying Lee use. Again, it's really strike oriented from what I see. We didn't see this in NXT, at least I didn't see this. But I thought this was a really good match. The only thing I was a little weirded out by is I didn't like the finish, but I get it. Killer Kelly came out, led to the distraction. Masha got pinned. But I get it. What did you think about all this?
I wasn't really sure, like, because at first, I mean, because if it feels like one-sided, like you have these two badasses, and then the Elegance brand. But yeah, you're right. It did make sense, for Masha to get distracted, and then for the Ash to take advantage.
Yeah, because I agree with that as well, because I like how you pointed that out, because again, how it made sense, because up until last week, why Killer Kelly is going to get a shot against Masha is that she just returned, and that was her former teammate. So for her to basically kind of cost Masha the match, it adds something to a feud that I'm not saying didn't have any juice, but it's adding a little something to it. Like, are we going to see Masha? I mean, one of them has to kind of turn heel, or I like Killer Kelly costing her matches just because, again, I'm not saying it's all lovey-dovey right now, but I need something to make this a blood feud. You know what I mean? I want something to happen to get me really invested in it. I know the match is coming up. The match isn't at Slammiversary, right? It's in 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
So it'd be nice.
And not to knock on Ash a bit, like I wasn't really digging, like she was stalling, doing those karate taunts, mocking Lei Ling, and then didn't understand, pretend like she didn't understand what she was saying, getting the whole Google Translator or whatnot. It's like, come on, we have a match, like let's get this going. But like I get the character and stuff.
Yeah, but
I mean, good for good for the Elegance brand. They're on a roll so far.
Yeah, you're right though. Sometimes she stalls a little bit too much in her matches. You know what I mean? I feel like that's a little too much WWE. You know what I mean? Like that. Again, I do want to see, because again, I feel like Ash, since she's been in TNA, has proven that she can go. So I don't think she needs to do all that. But I get the character, and you're right. They have been on a roll. Part of me doesn't want them to drop the titles now, because I kind of want to see them to do a little Freebird thing, and it'd be nice to see them work in different pairs. You know what I mean? I don't want them to drop the titles to the Inspiration just yet, but I don't know if that's not going to happen. You know what I mean? I think that's probably likely. But oh yeah, I forgot to mention. I feel like this was like the 10th time Ray Walt has dropped the Dr. Finkelstein reference during the Elegance brand. You know what I mean? Hopefully maybe we get some segments they should have somebody to play him, because I feel like every time the Elegance brand is out there, Ray Walt has to talk about how one of them had to go see him for some sort of surgery. I like how that's kind of a little running bit of that team. Yeah, but it just makes me maybe get Kevin Nash to play him.
Hannifin's pure hatred over the concierge, it's just always funny. I know, the crowd, they were letting him having it, saying Iceman sucks chance and stuff.
Yeah, I know, and I good on them for making Iceman, because everyone will know him for the TNA updates, but good on them for making him an on-screen character. He's totally played this role very well.
Yeah, he's definitely the glue of that brand of like
Yes,
what helps Ash and the girls and stuff.
exactly. Okay, next we're gonna move on to a quick inspiration promo, and I the more they're in TNA, the more they're winning me over. This is like the perfect team. They like play off of each other. They basically just said that they're about to inspire. What did you think of this?
Yeah, very good. Short, promo. Letting the inspiration, letting the Elegance girls know that they're coming for the belts and watch their backs. It should be very, very interesting.
Do you think that they?
I'm actually, you're saying, yeah.
Oh, I was going to say, do you think the inspiration? Do you think the Elegance brand drops the titles? Just early prediction. Where's your head at this stage?
It's possible. It's possible. You'll look at it. Seeing that Cassie and Justin just came back, but as we've seen, and as we mentioned, like the Elegance brand, they're very sneaky, like having the main advantage of like 4 people in the group. So don't be surprised if they like sneak their way, if they like keep holding on to those belts. So I would say go either way.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Okay, next we're gonna go into a kind of a little interesting segment. It was a Santino promo. Then it was followed by Tommy Dreamer coming out. Then, which this is the only part of it that made sense to me, was Mance and SDL came out, and I do think that we are building towards a Mance and Tommy Dreamer match. Slamovich is in New York. Tommy Dreamer is from New York. It's a way to get Mance on the card. Again, I don't have a problem with it. But then we get the return of not someone, but something, Jake something, which, the crowd loved this. I definitely popped as well because I thought that before he got hurt, him and Hammerstone I thought Jake had kind of found something, you know what I mean? Like the big, just, you know what I mean? He's just the big dude, you know what I mean? And he knew it, he didn't need anybody. What do you think about all this? What'd you like and what'd you dislike?
Well, first thing what I didn't like was like, we were I think we were overdoing Santino appearances. Like, okay, what was the purpose of him coming down and then announcing Tommy Dreamer and whatnot? But but that's just a little thing. But yeah, I don't think we were gonna get like a Mance Dreamer match. I think it was probably just Dreamer. Because normally nowadays Dreamer he just gets his butt whipped nowadays, or try to do these short segments, but it doesn't really lead to anything. But yeah, very decent. Very glad Jake something is back. I think he was out for like maybe 3 months. I think maybe give or 3 months. But yeah, glad he's back. We're looking forward to this potential match between him and Mance Warner. I think that should be good, and see where it goes from there.
Okay, I get what you're saying about maybe no Dreamer and Mance, but let me just say, because I don't know how long he planned. I think it'd be pretty if we went if we had set up something where it was Dreamer putting his career on the line against Mance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We could build up to how Mance could keep calling himself the innovator, the new innovator of violence. I know that was Tommy's name. If we built this something, again, Tommy's hometown, I don't know when Tommy, if he, I don't know how wrestlers think in terms of if they plan out their retirement match. I don't know what Tommy's thinking, but if, Tommy, I just think that's the kind of thing that would put Mance over, really put him over in terms of, oh shit, you know what I mean? That I'm not saying it would make him, but that's something that would go into making Mance in TNA. Oh shit, he retired Tommy Dreamer. You know what I mean? Like I don't know, but Jake something versus Mance, I'm equally excited about that, just because I've been missing Jake something. And then lastly, in terms of the Santino appearance, you would think that TNA would have learned. They heard that, they heard the rumblings that people were getting a little tired of Scott on TV every time. You know what I mean? So yeah, they could probably pull back a little bit of.
I mean,
Santino.
like it's just like they gotta like differentiate it a bit. Like what's what's the purpose of him coming this week? And like, all right, he got he's still the directive authority. We know that. I would assume like he was gonna announce Slammiversary matches or whatnot, but we didn't get to that. So. But yeah, I'm not saying like not like be on TV in general. Just saying kind of like differentiate a bit. Like like what's the purpose of him coming down? Like do something a little different now then.
Yeah, if anything, he could. I would be fine if he was like in the Adam Pearce role, Nick Aldis role, where we just see him in his office. You know what I mean? That's totally fine with me. But to have all the pomp and circumstance with him coming to the ring, you know what I mean? Like, because this just made it seem like that he's heading to being involved in another. When you're in the ring, I assume you're going to be involved in an angle, and we don't need Santino involved in another angle. You know what I mean? So no disrespect to Santino, but I'm just saying, we've been there, done that. Let's move on.
Yeah. Real
quick, in the comments, Zach says, "Hey, hello everyone. Hey Zach."
What's going on,
Randy
Zach?
Ingalls. Oh yeah. Randy says, "Howdy. What's up, man?" And then Terrence Sullivan, Slammiversary's heating up. Definitely. Again, we have a little bit to the build, but we're still, it's cooking, because like we were talking about last week, I think we know the big matches, but it's all about kind of adding the stuff in the middle, and I think they're doing a perfect job of that. So yeah, this was a perfect example. This show was a perfect example of that. Okay, next we're going to move on to a quick Tessa and Indi promo. And again, I actually really like this, because part of me thinks that, I know that I think we're going towards Tessa and Indi, but part of me thinks that Tessa's going to put Indi over. And I definitely like that decision. And this has nothing to do with my feelings towards Tessa. This has more of my feelings that I want to see Indi. I want to see Indi become a big star in TNA. And I think that her beating Tessa, not only a former knockout champion, but a former world champion, the only knockout world champion in TNA history, would go a long way. So I like this.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're trying to like get behind Indi, as a star. Like the presentation, how well she did in the 8-4-1 match. And also, obviously during that match, Tessa, she sort of, kind of, pissed Indi off a bit, shoving her in the face and whatnot. So, when when she confronted her, mentioned, same old Tessa, not taking accountability and whatnot. And then, Tessa wrote back saying that you forget that, who helped you, who helped you, got in, get some careers. Get some, get your start in the States and whatnot. Basically, Tessa saying like, Indi owes a part of her career to her and stuff. So what I like there's some history. What I like the part, like there's history between the two, it seems like, and Tessa feeling like, she's, the bigger mentor, bully, I guess you can say, whatnot, over her in some sort. And Indi, not backing down. So I'm definitely looking forward to this collision. I think this will be like a true breakout, moment for like Indi, if she were to like, if she can hang. Let's say, I wouldn't say like if she can beat Tessa. Let's say if she can hang with Tessa, because like as you said, Tessa, she's I mean, obviously, like one of the best right now. Like you mentioned, won the men's world title and whatnot and stuff. So I would say it's a good opportunity for Indi to show like that she can hang with the big dogs of some sort.
Yeah, it was Tessa was doing her like kind of bullying gimmick, but it was the things that she was saying to Indi. Just it clicked in my head that I think the whole purpose of the storyline is for Indi to either, again, she might not win, but it's a coming out party for her. They need to see her like this needs to be her showing, okay, she's arrived. Like again, because this would be probably her this is her biggest opponent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In terms of
like when you compare her NXT run to now, like she was never really given the ball to. And I know people gonna say, well, if she won the NXT one stuff, but like, yeah, that's not what I meant. Like she was never really kind of like presented in a way where she's like like one of the stars. I guess you could say one of the star roster. I guess you could say. Like in NXT, she just felt like like an ordinary girl, doing these storylines and whatnot, with Dexter Lumis and all that stuff. But like here in TNA, like she's being taken serious. Is what I'm trying to say. So I think we're gonna really see what Indi can really bring to the table without the WWE umbrella.
You're completely right, because now that I'm remembering, I believe that she won the NXT title after it being vacated. I believe she won in some sort of like
she won it from Roxanne in a multi-person ladder match, but then she vacated it because she got drafted.
Yeah. And so that, again, to your other point too, it's like even though she was the champion, it was almost like she was a transitional champion, but not every time when someone's the belt, she didn't become the girl at that point. You know what I mean? Like she wasn't given, like usually when someone's becoming the champion, they're the face of the company, but not always. You know what I mean? So that's why I mean she was more of a transitional champion, because like you just said, she wasn't given the ball. You know what I mean? It wasn't like that she was becoming a big star at that point. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think this is the time now where it's her time to kind of show what she can do. Okay. Next, we're going to move into the main event, which was the Champ Challenge. I thought this was great. I love
wait,
this.
hold on, wait. I think we missed one. Matt Cardona, mystery partner against the System.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. Yeah, we had Matt Cardona with his mystery partner, which, again, I was hoping for a big guess, but then when we got who we got, I'm like, okay, well, I get this gimmick. I'm fine with it.
Tempe, Arizona's own, the hometown man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you say your thoughts first.
Yeah, no. Again, gimmick aside, this was a really fun match. Honestly, I'm more sick of Cardona than I am sick of the hometown man. At least the hometown man's a fresh character. You know what I mean? Even though it's the same person, at least it's a fresh. I'm kind of sick of Cardona, but this was fun, and honestly, if you think about it, this was hometown man Diener getting his win back against Eddie. So I had no problem with this. This was fine.
Yeah. Very fresh matchup. Personally, I'm starting to, warm to like, the hometown man thing. I think, well, I mean, we'll see where it goes from there. If we do see him again, obviously, but like, crowd was into him. It seems like the System has a problem with Cardona, but the fact that he's a free agent, taking spots, and whatnot. So the interesting part is like, where does Myers, fit into this equation? Because he was Cardona's former partner, and then and he's with the System, as you see like in the stare downs, and especially during after the match. the system, beat down Cardona and Hometown Man, and it seems like Myers was a little having like second guesses of like. I mean, I would say like it seems like he doesn't know what to do, like because obviously Cardona's his former partner, but now he's with the system. So it'll be interesting, where this feud goes between Cardona and the system. But yeah, good, good showing for the hometown man. But yeah, I would say comparing it to like the El Grande Americano gimmick or whatnot, that's going on in WWE. But at least TNA, they're yeah. Here's the difference with TNA, they're acknowledging like that this is Cody Deaner, but with WWE, you got Michael Cole being saying like, no, that's Chad Gable, but everyone's saying like, no, that's not him. So at least with TNA, they're kind of being a little honest on that part.
I can't believe I'm going to say this, but this is actually, I'm not going to call it his best gimmick, but they instead of Cody Deaner coming out and trying to get the people to clap for him, he basically now he found a way to have them. They have there's no way they can't clap for him, because if you have a character called the Hometown Man, what a great way to, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, so this is a good character in the sense that like anytime that they can have like they could always have a face team that needs a partner. What better way to get the crowd on their side by having literally a character called the Hometown Man?
I can see him. Yeah, I can see him just wearing any sports jersey, whatever town they're in, and then.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to Slammiversary. He can come out in an Islanders jersey, because I believe that's the arena they'll be in. So yeah, that's very smart on them. That's good on them. Second, I'll use a comparison for the people to tell them what was kind of teased with Cardona. This is basically like if the system were 3 Live Crew and Brian Myers was BG James, and you have Kip James come in, who he has history with Cardona, who has history with Brian Myers. Yeah. And now we don't, is he going to side with his new team, or is he going to go back to something familiar? So that's immediately what I thought about, because I've been watching that old TNA. Yeah, I'm like, okay,
good.
Similar.
Yeah, that's a good reference. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I do like this. Also, real quick, because Eddie ate the pin, I think Eddie should be the one to beat C. Macklin eventually for the international title. But that's just me. I think Eddie deserves to just have another kind of accolade to his resume in TNA. I think he deserves it. But yeah, no, this was fun. Again, I can't hate the Hometown Man character when I think about it, and I'm not going to take it seriously. So, but it's a good way to get the crowd to pop. They have to pop. So, okay. So yes, next we will move on to the Champ Challenge. Frank Kazarian on commentary. Love that. I thought this was so good. Again, this is like 2 all-star teams, East versus West. This was good. Everyone got their shit in. Everyone shined. What'd you think about this?
Yeah, I like the Champions Challenge. It's a very good concept where you have champions, even if they're heel or baby faces on one side, and then the all-stars on the other side. I noticed when Trick came down, it seems like, with the exception of Steve Macklin, it seems like everyone was all in on his team. Also Nick Nimitz. You notice when Trick tried to give a fist bump to Nick wouldn't do. So it seems like Nick, he's not in with like the NXT guy holding the belt. So, and he made that public on during the interview. So I'm glad they kind of showed that. So it seems like the ones who the TNA talent, and especially First Class, who are siding with Trick, it seems like they're only siding with Trick because they're glad he took the belt off of Joe Hendry. Because it seems like Joe Hendry, he still has some of his enemies on the TNA roster or whatnot. But yeah, anyway, good sequence from everyone, from the Rascals, Elijah, Leon Slater, shined. I thought that was a good showing for him too as well. And I think during the match, I noticed like Macklin didn't get much ring time. Like, did you notice? Like, it seems like some of the members of his team didn't want to tag him in. I don't know if you called that.
I did not catch that. That's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, probably like probably some tensions between certain members of that side. But yeah, there was a good sequence with Elijah getting the pin. I think he pinned Ryan. But then prior to that, Nemeth was going for Macklin's international title to strike with Elijah, I think, and then Macklin felt offended, and then I think he struck Nick, and then that's when things went sour for the champions. But overall good sequence. Hendry, he got he was able to get some of his lickings, Trick. They still have issues there, and then continue on the Slater and Moose feud there, and then the Rascals. Yeah, what was good about this? Like, there's current feuds. What I like about this match is like there's some current feuds when this one. And then decent one. Elijah got the pin. Good way to close out Impact.
Now that I think about this, if I'm thinking like outside of the box, if the champs team, they're all the champs are heels except with the exception of Steve Macklin. You know what I mean? So now I'm thinking about it, it was kind of odd for him to be on that. I'm not saying he's like a total baby face, but he's definitely not a heel right now. You know what I mean? So it was a little odd now I could see why they were not going to really tag him, because he really didn't fit in with that team, only in the idea that he's a champ. But yeah, I thought everybody kind of got to shined. Leon Slater was at the top of that list. Elijah, another one. And real quick, I believe I saw today. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe it was announced that Elijah had suffered an injury.
Yeah. He had a torn tricep from the NXT match on Tuesday, and I think he just got surgery. So it seems like he won't be good to go for Slammiversary. So we'll see what goes from there.
Which is a real shame, because I thought he was doing some of his best work, if not his best. In TNA.
Absolutely. And that's what sucks too, because he was Elijah, he's doing some great work right now. Yeah, not just on the promo and guitar, but in ring too. So
yes. Yeah, that's where I was going.
It's been a sad week of injuries. Liv Morgan got injured. She's going to be out for a while, and now we got Elijah. Casey Navarro, is injured too. Yeah.
Jeez. I know when
the same ballet.
Yeah. No. Elijah to me was doing his best work in the ring. I thought he never. Again, I think this is just whoever is helping book TNA's. I mean, call TNA's matches, that they do a really good job. But yeah, no, Elijah, that's a shame. So wish him a speedy recovery, and Liv, of course. Because say what you want about Liv, what people want to say about Liv, I think she is a lot better than people give her credit for in the ring. You know what I mean? So
yeah, she's really busting her butt. Despite what folks want to say, it was very unfortunate.
Okay, well, with that being said, that again, and the challengers were able to get the win. Like you said, I thought that was the right decision, because again, the champs are the champs. They don't need to win, especially in non-title matches. We need to set the matches. So again, probably Rascals them as the Slammiversary, which I think that's the right call. Obviously, Leon moves. We know that, and opposed to Trick, we might Joe Henry. Obviously, I think that they're going to have another match. We don't know if that will be at Slammiversary, but we know that most likely that will happen. So I do like
Trick has he has to deal with his title defenses coming Tuesday with Josh Briggs. Yeah, you heard that match, right?
Yes, I did, which I good on making Trick like the workhorse champion as well right now.
Yeah.
I like that. You know what I mean? He's taking that title everywhere and defending it. So again, that's a smart move on TNA, and there's nothing wrong with Trick getting more reps in.
So far, I think he has 3 defenses. Right.
It's going to be funny because I've already
3
called
defenses so far. Yeah.
I've already called it in the beginning, but I'm looking forward to when Trick is done being TNA champion for people to say that he had a better run as TNA champion than NXT champion, because he has. So I can't wait for people to admit that.
Yeah.
He actually feels like the guy right now. So, but yeah, that should be a very good match with him and Josh Briggs. I'm looking forward to that. So I can't wait to talk about that, because you got and what the cool thing is that you have TNA stakes involving 2 non-TNA wrestlers. So I hope everyone pays attention to that. You know what I mean? It's not happening in TNA, but it involves TNA. So we'll definitely be talking about that. Well, with that being said, we're going to wrap that up. Anything else you'd like to say?
Yeah. Very good episode. Really good, to cap off, great, birthday anniversary, TNA celebrating 23 years. Looking forward, to as Road to Slammiversary. Also looking forward to talking about next Thursday, because we definitely got a lot to discuss about next week's show, and everyone just keep supporting the brand TNA. Follow along, other TNA review shows. Got some good folks. It's all right. Do shout outs if that's fine with you.
Yeah, no worries.
Oh yeah. Shout out to my man Mike Gilbert. Who's on vacation right now. He Brace for Impact, BQ, the Impact Lounge, Total, the TNI. Greg, Lucha, you, Datala, obviously here in Body Slam, and Fightful, any other TNA review show, give them a listen, because these are all good people who watch the show every week, like us too. So
definitely,
anybody
who agree with that completely, because more people need to. The more people spreading the brand of TNA, the better. You know what I mean? So I completely agree with that.
What about you? Any other thoughts?
No, I just think, again, we're heading into one of TNA's big 4, and with the combination of timely releases, and again wanting to have a big show, I definitely pay attention to TNA, because I think we're in for a lot of surprises. And again, it's par for the course. We're heading into one of the bigger shows of the year, so just keep watching. And finally, where can people find you on social media?
Same at follow me on X at FrequencyIO, which is on the screen. You can catch me doing my thing, tweeting about shows, movies, funny things I see, and of course, wrestling, with either TNA or WWE, AEW. Yeah, so you can catch me around on the Twitter machine, as Bully Ray likes to say.
Yeah, he was him and his calves were trending on Twitter. That was one of it. That was his best gimmick.
I love that one. Yeah, when he should have put his calves every week. Yeah.
I believe it was called Calves and Abs. Him and Bobby Roode. That should have been a team.
Roode, yeah.
That should have been a team.
Cavzilla and stuff.
Also, you can follow me on Twitter, Bertmach11. Again, I'm tweeting about mostly wrestling, but a lot of TNA, of course. But yeah, with that being said, thank you guys for joining us. Make sure to like and subscribe this video. Subscribe to Body Slam whenever we go live, or when anyone in Body Slam goes live. A lot of great stuff over there. And with that being said, I want to thank you guys for joining us tonight, and we'll see you next week. Have a good night.
Later.